Hey everybody, Ian here. Today we are going to be talking about the basic settings for setting up your camera if you're going to move into manual mode for the first time. Now there are a few factors that you need to manually adjust for when you're doing your video, but once you get those set, it should just be slight adjustments for whatever scenario or situation that you're in. You're probably going to be shooting in around 30 frames per second, which is usually the standard for web. First, let's look at the shutter speed. Generally, what you'll do is you'll take your frame rate, you'll double it, and so your shutter speed will be 1/60. So if you see that, 1/60, that'll be your shutter speed for if you're shooting in 30 frames. If you're shooting in 24 frames, which is usually used for cinematic purposes, you'll be doing 1/50. If you use the wrong shutter speed with the frame rate, it might make your video a little choppier or a little slower in the final versions. Now let's take a look at aperture. Aperture will be based on what lenses you have, but generally they range from f1.4 to f22. Now, the smaller numbers on aperture are going to be better for you if you're filming in a manufacturing shop, because the smaller the number is, the more light it lets in. As you stop up, or go from 1.4, 1.8 to 2.2, 2.8, and so on, you get less and less light into your sensor, into your camera. This also is that bokeh effect you see of the blurry backgrounds on a lot of videos. The lower your number, the blurrier the background will be, and the shallower the focus depth will be. Now your ISO is basically going to be how much extra light you have to add in your camera's settings. And yes, this can result in adding grain. So generally I start at ISO 100 and I move it up until it's accurately exposed. Now for a lot of cameras, you can really push the ISO with modern technology, but I wouldn't recommend going over 6400 or even 3200 ISO because you can see a lot of grain in post in some cases. And the last thing that I would recommend looking into while doing manual settings is manually setting your white balance. And now this might just be going through a series of presets, but if you find this option, make sure you're finding a white wall or a white area at the very least and adjusting the color temperature to make sure it kind of matches, because this will make your job a lot easier in post when you're trying to clean up things. And you don't want a room looking crazy blue or crazy pink or a person looking a sickly green color. Now that's just a very, very basic overview of basic manual camera settings. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. There are a ton of guides online as you want to go more and more in depth. I can put together some more videos in the future, but for now, I'll leave you with those, and I hope you learned a little something, and I'll see you around for some more videos.